Good morning and welcome to DFW Close-Up. I'm Erin Harris. Coming up on the show, a 15-year-old entrepreneur. How this savvy young woman has donated thousands of dollars to a cause she cares about, animal advocacy. Plus, every parent's worst nightmare, losing a child. And this local mom has turned her immense grief into profound joy. But first, this heat is unbearable, and it's only going to get hotter. Keeping our homes cool is an expensive feat, but with this new smart technology, you can save money on your utilities bill. That's all coming up next on DFW Close-Up as we put our community first. You know it's hot when you can't walk outside for more than a minute without your skin feeling sticky. And when it requires more bucks to keep your house at a comfortable, breathable temperature. What if, instead of being surprised by your electric bill at the end of each month, you could prepay or pay as you go? Here with us today is Brian Hayduck from First Choice Power to talk with us about this new hot technology. Tell us a little bit about these smart meters.
Sure. Let's see if we can take a little bit of the mystery out of it. First of all, these are the actual old meter. And this is the new smart meter. They look exactly the same, but they're about 50 years apart in terms of technology. Yeah, maybe a little heavier. And these are being installed throughout Texas. The final date is 2014, but they were mandated by the state. We have close to 1.5 million of these meters already installed, most of them up here in the Encore service territory in the Dallas area. So what makes these better than the old technology? In a lot of ways. The first is information. So the old meter, all it did, we measure electricity in kilowatt hours. All the old meter did was, as the kilowatt hours ran through it, it measured how many. And you'd have a meter reader come out, and then a meter reader come out again a month later, and it would just, the difference between those two reads was how many kilowatt hours you used. And that's it. Didn't know when you used it, how you used it, didn't communicate anything back to the utility. You needed the meter reader physically out there doing it. The new meters actually, every 15 minutes, you know exactly what you're using. It's all done remotely, so it's communicating back to the utility what you're using and when. It tells the utility when you've been interrupted, so when there's an outage, it knows exactly when that outage occurred. The old meter, the utility did not know when that outage occurred. So if I wanted to see how many kilowatts per hour I've used, let's say in the past 15 minutes, I'm not necessarily going to go to this in my house. So how else can I find that information? There's a couple ways. One is every single customer that gets a smart meter installed can go to a website, smartmetertexas.com, and they can actually see their 15-minute interval reads if they wanted to look in the graph of how they're using electricity during the day, which is, again, first time that you're ever going to be able to see that, versus the old meters. And in 2014, everybody will have these smart meters. Everybody will have it. In the Dallas area, it's closer to 2012. Actually, Encore is doing it a little bit faster. They're about a third of the way through all the homes. So what about this pay-as-you-go or prepay method? It's incredible. I've never heard of such a thing. Yeah, it's very similar to what one might do with telephones, where you have prepaid telephone service. And this smart meter is really what enables that. And what you do is essentially you pay as you go. So you put in, there's no minimum. You can pay $20, $10, $50. You will get text messages from us in terms of how much you're using, how much you've spent, and approximately how much more you have to go in terms of dollars. And there's very different in terms of the structure. There's no contract, there's no hidden fees, there's no surprises. And that information is really powerful. They've done studies in the U.S., they've done studies in Europe, where just getting the information in terms of how I use electricity during the day, that alone causes people to react and change their behaviors. 5 to 10% savings just on the information. So understanding what you're doing on a daily basis versus surprise at the end of the month is brand new. Puts the consumer much more in control. They get to see what they're spending. They get to determine when they want to put more money into their account. So it's kind of a green effort too. Oh, absolutely. Anytime you're saving on electricity, if you can get 5 to 10% based on that information, or me providing you text messages about or emails about how you're using electricity, and you change your behavior, which is the key to conservation, absolutely that has a green benefit to it, sustainability.
And so how do you assess how much money that I should pay up front?
It's a good question, and it's really two different ways. If you're an existing customer that's flipping over to a prepay type of product, we have all of your information, and we're going to have a very good idea of what you use on a daily basis. If you're brand new to First Choice, what we have to do is just ask you some simple questions. Are you in a home? Are you in an apartment? Approximately how many square feet or rooms?
Okay.
Basic information that will tell us that if you give us this amount of money, this is approximately how long it will go. Then, as we serve you, we learn, and we'll figure out exactly the type of customer you are, and it'll get more and more precise and more accurate.
Okay, and this is also the gateway to many, like, huge energy revolutions sort of in the home.
Yes, yes. This is really going to be a breakthrough for consumers. I think you'll see those initial products, like the prepay product that we have, but it really becomes a gateway. This device can communicate potentially with other devices in your home, whether that's your refrigerator, your thermostat. So you can envision a world where you have all of the pieces of the puzzle. You have what you're using, what those prices are, and it's able to talk to the different appliances in the house or your thermostat. So if prices are high, well, let's turn the air conditioning down,
right, exactly.
or let's not do our wash or our dishes today. Exactly.
Wow.
Could do it by yourself. The key question there is, will people allow something like this, a smart energy network, to take control? Because what you see is a lot of people, even though they have the controllable thermostats, they'll go and override it a month after they've set it. So giving up that control and letting these devices manage your home is something we'll have to see if it actually happens.
Well, thank you so much, and a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. And if you'd like to learn more information about the smart meter and prepaid electricity, visit firstchoicepower.com. We'll mention the site again at the end of the show. But before we take a break, we have our Green Team Tip of the Week. Bob Guzman gives us another way you can save energy on your energy bill.
Today we're going to talk about plugging things in and keeping them unplugged. People talk about whether you save electricity by unplugging some items, and you actually can do that. Not things like lamps, because when you hit that switch and turn it off, you're cutting the current. But it's things that use what we call AC to DC converters. It's these bricks. Everybody has them. They've got them all over the house. You unplug this from the item you're using, but still leave it in the wall socket, you are wasting electricity. Things like big screen TVs, these should actually be unplugged. I know it's kind of a pain, but what you should do is probably plug as much as you can into one of these power strips. And then when you're done at the end of the day, you just flip the switch on the power switch, it'll kill power to everything, and then to switch it on the next day when you need it. Maybe pennies a day, but I tell you what, at the end of a year or so, if you have 20, 30 things, you could save 40, 50, 60 bucks or more.
After the break, what to say, and perhaps more importantly, what not to say when someone is mourning the death of a family member. We have advice from an expert when we return.